It is the 30th of May today, and as you can see, I have gotten all of the blocking up here. You can see right there, these blockings. I've gotten all of them installed. There's a set of them here, and then you can see down here there's another two sets, one over here and then one down there. You can see those. Now those are needed to support the roofing material that I'm going to be using, the clear plastic. And I've got one of them sitting up here to show you how. This is an 8-footer, and you see how nicely it spans. It's got a place to attach right here, and then this can be attached right here, and this can be attached right here. Now, there is another thing I've got to do, and you can see it from the edge. You see the 2x4 that I'm going to attach it to is right here. You can see the 2 screws, and the other one is right here. And then if you look up here, you see that's a peak. And what I like to do is screw them down to the valleys because you're right there on the wood. But this peak is over the 2x4, you see, and so that necessitates putting some kind of a spacer in here, because I don't like to basically screw through the crest and then have an empty space there like that. So I've got to put a spacer in there, and all that is a thin strip piece of wood that you can buy, and or you can sell. The company sells these things, and they are pieces of plastic that are meant to be placed right under there like that. And I think you can get them in a 5-pack for about $6, and they're 2 feet a piece. I think there's 6 of them in there, but they're 2 feet a piece. So basically, one pack will span a 12-foot 2x4. And but if you add all those numbers up and you see how many I'm going to need, it can be, I can't do it in my head right now, but it's a little expense. So what I am going to do is I'm thinking about this, but what I'm going to do is actually cut strips of wood, and they've got to be just a little bit narrower than the 2x4. As you can see, that little space is a little narrower than the 2x4. And then cut them out on my table saw, and cut those and use those as the spacers under here. Now that's a lot cheaper to do it that way, and I've done it in other places. You can see up here on the sun deck I've got the same kind of polycarbonate on the top of that, and that's how I did that, and it holds up quite nicely. It works quite nice. It's just a little extra work that you've got to do, cutting out those pieces and then putting them on top of every one of those rafters and attaching them. But that's all I've got left to do right now, is putting those spacers up there and painting everything a nice. I was going to paint it gray, and go from there. Okay, now to cut my little spacers, let me do some measuring here. As I showed you, this is a scrap piece, and if you look at this, now I've measured this, and this little space in here is almost 3/4 of an inch tall, and then this space across here, that is 1 inch. So if I can cut something that's about 1 inch tall, and that's about 3/4 of an inch tall, not quite 3/4 of an inch, but about 3/4 of an inch tall, and up to 1 inch wide. That's just what I need for the the end cap that I was telling you about. That when you attach it. Well, this one's been cut. I can't show you, but up here, so that when you attach it, like right here, so you need a spacer under here that's almost, well, about 3/4 of an inch, or almost 3/4 of an inch tall, and no more than 1 inch wide, because that top is 1 inch wide, and if it's too wide, you'll start hitting the sides. So what can I do? And I thought, hey, look at this, I can reuse something over here. Now these came off of a planter box that I had inside. You might have seen that in the first video. It was still up. That's why they're painted. But these are, I guess they call them furring strips or something. These are 1x2s. And the dimensions, they're not actually 1x2, you know, because they plane them down. But if you look at it, here, if you put a tape measure across there, what you see is, this is, see if I can focus that. This is about 3/4 of an inch thick. So that's about the thickness that we need, but it's too wide because we need 1 inch width. And if you look at this, because it's 1x2, you're going to see that what it really is it's an 1.5 inches wide. Now, so if we split this right down the middle here, what we should get is a piece that's about a little more than, or about 3/4 of an inch wide and about 3/4 of an inch thick. So you'll get a piece that's 3/4 by 3/4, which I would think is just about ideal for putting under the edges of those. So we're going to go in the garage in my little workshop, and I'm going to cut a couple of these, or cut one, and see how that works. So here goes. Okay, so here I am in my workshop, and I've got my table saw right here. And what I've done is set up the rip fence here to 3/4 inches. Now this is not totally accurate, it's not a really expensive saw. But anyway, and I've got my furring strip here. Now remember, this is 1.5 inches wide, so if I set it at 3/4 of an inch, it should cut this right in half. Now, if we put this down just to eyeball it, that looks like that's about half. So, let's start cutting it. See. Here is roughly about a 3/4 by 3/4 piece of wood, and I've only got a little piece, but that's all I need to see if this is going to work. So let's go up and try this for size and see how it looks. The idea now is to take 8-foot pieces of this and insert them right here all along that 2x4 and use these as the spacers. Now let me run that up through there. You can see it going up there. Okay, now, as you can see, there it is. That looks great. And from this side here, it looks great too. And from this side, it looks great. So, what it's going to do now is this is going to be the attachment point right here, so I can screw it down on the crest of this. And then I'm going to attach it, so I'm going to attach it all along here, and then also attach it here at the valleys on the polycarbonate, and then the crests all along here. And it's basically you do that, so this thing is, so the polycarbonate sheets are firmly attached. And these are a whole lot cheaper. Well, they're free actually, because I've already got them. And I don't know how many feet of these I've got, but I need probably 40 sections. Let's see, 40, there's 8 feet, and there's another 8 feet. I need 40 pieces that are 8 feet plus 18 feet, so 36 feet. 26 feet, so I need 40 times 26 feet of this stuff. And so I might have enough to do it here. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing. So we found a way to do this without spending a whole lot of money and reusing some of the stuff that I took off the greenhouse in the first place. Okay, it is the 1st of June today, and I cut up all these little strips, and you can see them all lined up here. I've laid them out so that I can use them. It really worked pretty good. Now some of these don't look like, you know, the finest pieces of lumber, but they really don't need to be that fine. What they need to do is be a spacer that you can screw through and hold these polycarbonate sheets down. So I've got them all lined up there, then I've got them all lined up there. So now we set up the ladder and we start putting them up on the top of these rafters. So we'll get to that right now.